Shedeur Sanders didn't mince words. Just moments after the game, standing in front of a national audience, he dropped a quiet bomb. He was ready to play, but the Browns pulled him anyway. That single statement flipped the Browns' narrative upside down. What was supposedly a routine benching for a back injury suddenly looked like something else entirely, a calculated move cloaked in concern. And once Sanders went public, the speculation caught fire. Why would Cleveland sideline their most anticipated rookie without his input? And what are they really hiding? This isn't just a quarterback controversy. It's a full-blown crisis of credibility.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Between Shedeur's on-air defiance, Dillon Gabriel's faltering starts, and the Browns' inconsistent injury claims, every decision is under the microscope. What's emerging isn't just mismanagement. It's a potential pattern of manipulation. As the team stumbles through its season, it's becoming clear. The way Cleveland handles Sanders could define both his career and their reputation for years to come. The Cleveland Browns just fumbled something way bigger than a game. We're talking about a full-blown quarterback controversy that has fans, analysts, and players alike staring at the franchise and asking, what are you hiding? During a critical game against the Patriots in the 2025 NFL season, the Browns made a baffling move. They benched Shedeur Sanders. The official excuse? A mysterious back injury. But then Shedeur did what no one expected. He got on live TV and lit the match. He flat out said he didn't make the decision to sit. The team did. Just like that, the injury narrative started to unravel. And so did the Browns' credibility. It wasn't just what he said, it was how he said it. Calm, direct, and unmistakably fed up. Sanders' statement exposed a massive crack in the team's official story. If the injury was real, why didn't he know he wouldn't be playing? Why was he warming up like a guy ready to go? And if it wasn't real, then what exactly is going on behind those closed locker room doors? Here's the thing. Fans aren't buying the back injury explanation anymore. People at the game saw Shedeur stretching, jogging, throwing. No signs of stiffness. No trainers hovering over him. No limping. And yet he's ruled out? It doesn't add up. This wasn't a player protecting himself. This looked a lot more like a franchise pulling strings behind the scenes. Which leads to the bigger question. Why? What possible reason would the Browns have to sideline their highly touted rookie quarterback, especially in a season where their offense has been struggling to produce anything remotely competitive? Let's talk about Dillon Gabriel. He's the guy who did start that game, and several before it. And to be blunt, it's not going well. The numbers are down. The momentum is non-existent. Gabriel looks overwhelmed. And still, he's getting the snaps while Shedeur is on the sidelines, throwing warm-up passes to nobody. The favoritism is not just noticeable, it's blinding. So now, you got fans asking the obvious. Are the Browns trying to protect Shedeur, or are they hiding something? Insiders close to the organization have started to speculate that this could be a strategic delay. That maybe the Browns are scared of throwing Shedeur in too early. That maybe they want to preserve his value. Or even worse, suppress his development in case they're planning a future trade. Whatever the case may be, it's a far cry from he has a back injury. The worst part? The Browns haven't been clear on anything. No detailed injury report. No timeline for return. No clarity on whether Shedeur is actually hurt or just being kept off the field for strategic purposes. And now that Shedeur has spoken out publicly, the team's silence looks even more suspicious. You'd think after getting called out on live television, the Browns would rush to clarify the situation. But nope, just more vague statements and closed-door decisions. This is where things get messy. Because now, this isn't just a story about one player. This is about the entire organization and how it handles transparency, communication, and the treatment of its players. And frankly, it doesn't look good. There's a long, ugly history in the NFL of teams being less than honest when it comes to injuries. But this feels different. This feels calculated. If Shedeur is healthy and ready to play, and based on his statements and game day behavior, he seems to think he is, then the Browns are manipulating the narrative. And by doing so, they're playing with a young quarterback's future. Think about the optics. You've got a top draft pick bench with no clear injury, publicly contradicting his own team story. While the current starter can't find the end zone, fans are frustrated. Analysts are calling out the double standard. And Shedeur? He's stuck in limbo, unable to showcase his talent while his reputation hangs in the balance. Let's not pretend this is normal. Teams don't just bench healthy rookies during mid-season matchups unless something deeper is going on. Maybe the Browns are protecting him. Maybe they're stalling to avoid admitting they mismanaged their depth chart. Or maybe, just maybe, they're trying to shift blame away from a struggling offense and avoid scrutiny by hiding behind vague medical excuses. But here's the kicker. This kind of secrecy backfires. Every time the Browns dodge questions or withhold information, they lose trust with fans, with media, with their own locker room. It creates tension, resentment, and worst of all, it puts the player in an impossible position. Shedeur Sanders is in a no-win situation. If he pushes back too hard, he's disruptive. If he stays silent, he becomes a footnote. And if he plays poorly when finally given a shot, critics will use this moment as proof that he wasn't ready. It's a classic case of strategic suppression, disguised as caution. And Dillon Gabriel? He's not the villain in this story, but the decision to keep him in, despite lackluster results, only deepens the controversy. There's a sense that the Browns are choosing to double down on a shaky plan, instead of owning up to internal issues and giving Shedeur the fair opportunity he's clearly earned. The narrative being spun now is about protecting the player, but protecting him from what exactly? The fans want to see him play. Shedeur wants to play. The only people stopping it seem to be sitting in the front office. Let's be real. This isn't about a back injury. It's about damage control. And here's where it starts to get dangerous. Because if the Browns continue down this path, misleading the public, misrepresenting injuries, and gaslighting one of their own players, they risk long-term fallout. Not just for this season, but for the franchise's reputation and Shedeur's career. A young quarterback's rookie season is supposed to be about growth, experience, learning through mistakes. Instead, Shedeur's being benched under suspicious circumstances, talked around instead of talked to, and left to defend his own narrative on live TV. That's not just a missed opportunity. That's sabotage. And it's not just fans who see it. Players around the league are watching how Shedeur is being treated. Agents are taking notes. This kind of organizational behavior doesn't go unnoticed. It sets a precedent, and not a good one. Because if a franchise can sideline a promising rookie under false pretenses, hide behind vague medical excuses, and avoid accountability when called out, what message does that send? It says players don't control their own careers. It says public image matters more than honesty. It says development is conditional, and only certain players get the benefit of the doubt. The Shedeur Sanders situation has pulled back the curtain on a lot more than a questionable benching. It's exposed how teams like the Browns manage perception over performance, how they'd rather control a narrative than confront their internal problems, and how easily a player's future can be derailed not by talent or effort, but by silence and secrecy. And honestly, that's the real loss here. Because no matter what happens next, whether Shedeur gets to start next week or spends the rest of the season in limbo, the damage is already done. The trust is broken. The questions won't stop. And the Browns are officially under the microscope. So here we are, a promising quarterback, a mysterious injury, a public contradiction, and an organization caught fumbling the truth. Not exactly the season highlight reel anyone expected, but definitely the drama the NFL never seems to run out of. If you're as fed up with this mess as we are, let us know in the comments. Do you think the Browns are protecting Shedeur, or are they playing a dangerous game with his career? Hit that like button if you think transparency in the NFL shouldn't be optional. And don't forget to subscribe. We've got plenty more chaos to unravel. The Shedeur Sanders saga is far from over. As the weeks roll on, the drama surrounding the Cleveland Browns continues to build, with each new twist adding fuel to the fire. Fans, pundits, and even former players are starting to weigh in, and the general consensus is clear. The Browns have messed up big time. But how far will this go? How long can the franchise continue to brush off the glaring issues that have now become an open secret? The answers to these questions could shape the future of both the organization and Shedeur Sanders. To fully understand the gravity of the situation, we need to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. The NFL is a league built on competition, performance, and player development. Teams are expected to put their best foot forward, manage injuries with transparency, and above all, give their young players a chance to prove themselves. When a franchise starts playing games with players' career, especially a highly touted rookie like Shedeur, it doesn't just jeopardize that player's future. It undermines the integrity of the team itself. The fact that Shedeur Sanders was benched under such dubious circumstances speaks volumes about how the Browns operate behind closed doors. The franchise has a long history of internal turmoil, but this current situation feels like the breaking point. If this was any other team, we might be talking about a one-off mistake, an unfortunate miscalculation. But the Browns? This feels like a pattern, a culture of secrecy, mismanagement, and broken promises. Think about it. They told us Sanders had a back injury, but when he's seen warming up on the sidelines with no apparent discomfort, that story starts to fall apart. A back injury is a serious concern for any player, but when you've got a young quarterback ready to get on the field, stretching and throwing as if nothing is wrong, it raises suspicions. Was this injury real, or was it just a convenient excuse to keep him sidelined while the Browns navigated their internal mess? The fact that Shedeur himself came out and publicly stated he wanted to play only deepens the mystery. When a player is willing to put his name and reputation on the line to challenge the narrative his team has constructed, you have to wonder, what's really going on behind the scenes? This entire episode paints a troubling picture of how the Browns might be handling their assets. And let's not kid ourselves, Shedeur Sanders is an asset. The moment he was drafted, the Browns knew they had something special in him. He's got the potential to be a franchise quarterback, and any team in the league would be lucky to have him as a centerpiece of their offense. So why is he being treated like an afterthought? Why is his development being stunted when the team's starting quarterback, Dillon Gabriel, continues to struggle? There's a reason for everything, but this reason is elusive. The lack of transparency only fuels the speculation that the Browns are trying to protect their investment in Shedeur, either by keeping him off the field to preserve his value, or by avoiding the risk of throwing him into a situation where the team itself is too dysfunctional to support his growth. That brings us to another issue that can't be ignored: the performance of Dillon Gabriel. The Browns' decision to continue starting Gabriel, despite his lackluster play, doesn't just hurt the team. It hurts the entire locker room. Players see what's going on. They know Gabriel isn't getting the job done, and yet he keeps trotting out there while Shedeur is benched with a questionable injury. What kind of message does that send to the rest of the team? It's hard to blame a rookie for not getting the opportunity to prove himself when the veterans on the team can't even get the job done consistently. Gabriel's struggles highlight the very problem that Shedeur could have helped solve if only the Browns had been transparent about his status and given him the chance. It's clear that the Browns' coaching staff and management are not making decisions based on what's best for the team in the long term. If they were, they would have recognized that developing Shedeur Sanders is a top priority. Instead, they've opted for a short-term strategy, one that could ultimately harm both the team's immediate prospects and Shedeur's career. If the Browns were truly committed to developing their young star, they would have taken the training wheels off by now. Instead, they've opted to play it safe, hiding behind vague injury reports and a deteriorating offense. It's hard not to look at this situation and wonder the Browns are just trying to protect themselves. The narrative about Shedeur's injury might not be about protecting him, but about protecting the team's reputation. If Shedeur were to play and fail, the blame would shift squarely to the front office and coaching staff for rushing him into action before he was truly ready. But the longer they wait to play him, the more they risk labeling him a bust if he doesn't perform up to expectations. The truth is, the Browns are playing a dangerous game, one where the stakes are high for both the team and the player. And right now, it's not clear who will come out ahead. Another layer of complexity here is the issue of fairness. The Browns' management is not playing a fair game with Shedeur. They've kept him on the sidelines, potentially stalling his development, while their own starting quarterback struggles in real games. If Gabriel can't handle the pressure of being a starter, then why not give Shedeur a shot? It's not as though the team has been thriving with Gabriel under center. If anything, this is the perfect opportunity to throw Shedeur into the mix and see what he's really made of. But instead, the Browns are holding him back, and in doing so, they're holding back their future. The real danger in all of this is that it's not just about one player or one season. It's about the culture that the Browns are cultivating or failing to cultivate. If they continue down this path of secrecy, manipulation, and lack of transparency, they risk alienating future players, coaches, and even fans. No one wants to work for an organization that's unwilling to be upfront and honest. No one wants to be a part of a team where the goal is to maintain the illusion of success, even if that means sacrificing the potential of its best assets. The Browns need to make a choice. Do they want to be an organization that builds players up or one that holds them down for the sake of a few short-term wins? Right now, it's hard to tell which direction they're heading. So, where does this leave Shedeur Sanders? He's in a tough spot, no doubt. The controversy surrounding his benching could define his career, and the longer this goes on, the more damage it will do. The worst part is that he's doing everything he can to prove himself, to show he's ready to be the leader of the Browns' offense. But the organization is holding him back, keeping him in the shadows while Gabriel flounders. If this continues, Shedeur's potential could be wasted. His confidence might erode, and his desire to be a part of a team that believes in him could fade. That's the true tragedy of the situation. Because Shedeur Sanders is a player with all the tools to succeed. He just needs a team that's willing to give him a chance. It's not just about one game or one season. It's about whether the Browns are willing to bet on their future. Shedeur Sanders represents that future, and how they handle him now could determine the trajectory of the franchise for years to come. If they're not careful, the team could end up losing not only their most promising quarterback, but also the trust of the fans who are watching this all unfold. And at this point, it's clear that the ball is in the Browns' court. They can either come clean, make the right call, and give Shedeur Sanders the chance he deserves, or they can continue down the path of secrecy and risk losing both their star player and their credibility. The Shedeur Sanders situation isn't just another quarterback drama. It's becoming a full-blown crisis for the Cleveland Browns. The more time goes on, the more the organization's handling of a young quarterback starts to look like something far worse than a misstep. It's starting to feel like a pattern of calculated mismanagement that could end up costing the team much more than just games on the field. Think about it. The Browns, at their core, are a franchise that's constantly under the microscope. They've been through their fair share of struggles, including quarterback controversies, disappointing seasons, and management changes. But now, in 2025, they've found themselves with a golden opportunity in Shedeur Sanders. He's not just a talented young player. He's the future of the franchise, a potential face of the team, someone who could change the trajectory of the organization if given the chance to grow. And yet, what are the Browns doing with him? They're keeping him sidelined. They're letting him rot on the bench while their current starter, Dillon Gabriel, continues to sink the offense. Gabriel's performance has been less than stellar. Underwhelming at best, downright painful to watch at worst. But instead of making the obvious choice and giving Shedeur the opportunity to step up and potentially salvage the season, the Browns have chosen to hide behind a questionable back injury narrative that's clearly not holding up under scrutiny. What's worse is the utter lack of transparency. How many times have the Browns been vague with their injury reports or refused to provide clear answers to why Shedeur hasn't played? The silence from the front office is deafening, and that's what makes this situation even more infuriating. It's not just the questionable decisions. It's a refusal to own up to them, to admit there might be more going on than they're letting on. And here's the real kicker. Shedeur Sanders, for all the controversy, hasn't backed down. He's taken the fight to the public. He's not sitting quietly while his future is decided for him. When he spoke out on live TV and made it clear that he wanted to play, but was told not to, he wasn't just calling out the Browns. He was calling out an entire culture of secrecy and mismanagement that's far too common in the NFL. Shedeur is showing a level of maturity and self-respect that's rare in a young player, especially one in his position. Instead of playing the role of a passive pawn, he's actively shaping his narrative, forcing the Browns to answer questions they would rather avoid. This whole situation is a ticking time bomb. The longer the Browns refuse to act, the worse the fallout will be. They risk damaging Shedeur's career by keeping him in limbo, potentially losing the trust of their own locker room, and most importantly, alienating their fans. This isn't just a matter of putting a young quarterback on the field. It's about the future of the franchise. The Browns need to make a decision. Are they going to stand by their player, support his growth, and give him the opportunities he deserves? Or are they going to keep playing these games, ruining a once promising season, and potentially killing the confidence of one of their most talented players in process? The clock is ticking, and Shedeur's future in Cleveland could be slipping through the Browns' fingers. Will they make the right choice, or will they continue down the path of secrecy and poor decisions? Only time will tell. But for Shedeur Sanders, every moment that passes without a clear answer is a moment of potential is being wasted. And that's the biggest tragedy of all. What do you think? Will the Browns finally do right by Shedeur, or is this just the beginning of a much bigger disaster? Leave your thoughts below. Like if you believe players deserve transparency, and share to spread the word about the controversy rocking the NFL right now. Subscribe for updates as this story continues to unfold. The truth can only stay hidden for so long.